fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones, the ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power, but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, behind the Yellow Building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices, every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich.
Welcome to episode 745 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley and this is Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate.
Isn't that good? We got somebody else to do that intro. Remember when I used to read it word for word before every show?
Yeah, that was the good old days.
We got Joomla, WordPress, and Drew Powell.
No voiceover for that Battery Central ad. Like, I did the video. I knocked that up in like an afternoon just to have a video for it.
Yep.
But the radio voiceover for that was $600.
Yep.
Like, it's literally like 30 seconds. $600.
But doesn't it sound wonderful?
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't sound $600 wonderful. I would have taken $150 pretty damn good, honestly.
Yeah. They must make good money in that business. And here's me doing it free.
Yeah, well, they did it was for the radio ads we ran. And then they did, admittedly, he did, he worked up 10 ads. Yep. We only recorded one. But that 600 was, I think it was $100 an ad to actually record. So it was 600 with one ad included, and that gave us like 10 ads, but we never paid to get the extra ones done. But yeah, that's, from the time I spoke to him to the time he had the first ad recorded was like 2 hours.
Wow, that's not too bad.
And then he had the script for the other 10 in that period of time. Yep, and it would have literally taken him like a couple minutes to record each one. So for the sake of, let's say 3 hours work, if we had them all recorded, it was like $1,500.
Right.
For 3 hours. That's $500 an hour.
Yeah, I could do that.
For $500 an hour, I'd learn how to do voiceovers.
Hello and welcome to Aussie Tech Heads.
Well, I'd charge $500 an hour and find somebody who does it for $400 an hour.
Hello, world.
No, you need a golden microphone for that.
Dad always tries to get the glasses the same. Every time he goes to get a new pair of glasses, have you got ones with rims like John Law's? I like those gold ones.
It's not the glasses that make the man.
No. It's all that Valvoline he drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Valvoline, you know what I mean.
It gives him that silky smooth voice.
Yeah.
Gargles a cup of Valvoline before he goes to air.
Steve Blazik was funny fella.
Oh, he was great.
We don't have any of that kind of comedy stuff in Australia anymore.
And I was talking to someone the other day about that, and they're like, the closest we've got is kind of, because like even a bit later on, we had like Jim Owen,
Doug Anthony All Stars,
and Doug. Well, they were a bit earlier, but you had like Good News Week, and you had.
I was in the audience for one of the Good News Week taping. That was fun.
Yeah, that would have been cool. You had a few bits and pieces, but that was sort of mid to late 90s, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Hey went away, Good News Week went away, and then the last sort of couple of, I guess, semi-surviving ones was complete blank, ABC, the music one, complete one with Will Anderson. Was it Will Anderson was the host? No. The other guy. I get those two mixed up all the time. One's got a wooden leg and one doesn't.
Leg. Yeah.
But that was like the last sort of attempt at it. Specs, yeah. And we haven't really had anything like that since.
Yeah.
Because watching an American. He was doing, American React to Aussie comedy.
Yeah.
And it was all like, not late 90s, early 2000s stuff. I'm like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense, really, because there really hasn't been. You had Steady Eddie, and you had, as I said, Jim Owen, and you had
Mark Quartermain.
yeah, and
It's empty. It's empty.
and what was that? The guy, I can never think of his name, but he always looks like a bogan. But
We had the comedy company stuff.
oh yeah, comedy company. Then
Fast forward,
full
Full
frontal. And then it just
All the others started on. I had it. Big Gig.
big. Oh yeah. I mean, you
See if
had
I
a
can
couple
think
of
of
attempts at it, like Thank God You're Here, but they weren't really,
Yeah.
they're okay. But, when you get Magnus Urbanski as your lead comedian, it's not going to be a fantastic show. Don't get me wrong, I love the woman, but...
DJ in the Late Show.
Well, then, but even things like... we even lost, Australia's Funniest Home Videos and... all that sort of stuff. I mean, the Doug Morrow show.
It's all repeats of everything from the 60s to the 90s and then US stuff.
Well, there's really very little Australia. I mean, Neighbours and Home and Away, but even that's like rehashed storylines just with different actors doing it.
I don't know if Working Dog have done anything in a while. They did Utopia, which was okay on... is it on ABC, I think?
Yeah, they had a few. I used to love. There was a really good series on SBS. I think it was called News Hour or something. I can't remember what it was, but they must have filmed it really early in the morning and they actually filmed it on a train, like a legit train going between some stations.
Ah.
And they would read like news stories that literally had just happened that morning. So they must have had a hot off the press paper.
Yep.
And it was a bunch of comedians that was all the people from, in those, typical Australian comedies that you'd expect.
Yep.
And yeah, they're all like passengers on this train. They're all, reading news articles and putting their take on it and putting funny spins and stuff on it. It was a fantastic show.
Yep.
I can't remember for life me what it's called, but I used to love that. But they must have had to have filmed that at 4 o'clock in the morning or something, because it's the only way it would make sense that it would work. Because I was watching it, like they're filming it and you can see the stations and see the lights and stuff go past in the dark, so it's still dark.
Yeah.
And I'd get home at 6 o'clock of a night and it'd be on, so they had to have done it early in the morning.
Yeah.
That was like 2000. So
Graham Bond.
Hey?
Graham Bond. Kavanagh.
Yeah.
He ran like a result. Norman Gunston. Jerry Connolly used to do a lot of good comedy.
Norman Gunston was going okay till he had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Poor fella.
And then he sort of never really... I mean, he recovered, but he was never the same. He got out of comedy. I don't think he's done a comedy since. He's done a couple of movies, like movies sort of things, but really, really not much.
I used to watch Jerry Connolly for a while back in the day. He was pretty good.
Jerry Connolly. Why do I know that name?
The way I remember it, he did this funny joke on his show, where he was forgot what his name was, and he opens his wallet and it said Billy Connolly. It's like, that doesn't sound right.
But isn't it funny when Billy Connolly's associated with Great Australian Comedy?
Yeah.
Like, it's, it's not, nobody sort of even thinks anything of it,
Jerry used to do caricatures of Queen Elizabeth, Prince Charles, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, Joe Bioki Peterson.
Joe Bioki Peterson.
Now, Dick died. Neville Rand, Malcolm Fraser, Bob Hawke, Paul Keating, John Howard, Bill Collins, and Dame Joan Sutherland.
And then you have those two guys who did the on the end of the Current Affairs show. You had the two comedians. I saw them on something recently.
Ah.
Yeah, they don't look exactly the same.
One of them wouldn't, because he's dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is recently in terms of one of the last things they did. But they hadn't changed since like A Current Affair to this. Like,
Yeah.
it was probably 10 years old or whatever it was, but they looked exactly the same. It's funny when you see, a lot of, especially public figures that you see all the time, they sort of get to a point and they plateau, and for the next 20 years they look exactly the same, and then they disappear off TV for 5. They've gone away for a couple of years and they come back. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
Is it Joan Rivers? John
Clark is the one you're thinking of.
John
Clark
Clark.
and Dorr.
John Clark. He's
He was from New Zealand, where he had a comedy sketch as a character called Fred Dagg.
All right.
That's where he started out before he came over here, and then did Clark and Dorr, talking about they talked about news items, particularly politics, and basically told the truth as if they were the politicians, what they should have been saying and what politicians were really doing, but the politicians would never say or do whatever those things were. But yeah,
he died at the Grampians National Park. But that was like the games. The games was great for that because it was like exactly what should have actually been happening, not what was happening.
Yeah,
it was great.
Oh man, we see out so much. Lano and Woodley.
Well, Lano and Woodley split up. Scared with Little Guys split. Although they did come back and do a reunion, but
Tripod.
I think they split too, didn't they? I know. Is it Flight of the Phoenix, whatever it was? They split up.
Yeah.
I think it's that band where the lead singer guy is now a chick or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Axis of Awesome.
Axis of Awesome. That's them. Yeah, did four chords and whatever it was.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking of that before you were saying that. I was going to say, I'll wait till he finishes what he's. Oh, it's the same thing that I was going to say. Yeah.
Oh dear, but yeah, no. Go on to the good Australian comedies. It's
Kevin Bloody Wilson,
Rodney Rude.
Although,
I mean, even 12th Man, if you want to go into that category.
Yeah. I played that on the local volunteer radio station when I was a teenager on Midnight to Dawn. We're just like, turn off your radio now if you don't like swearing, because the next hour, that's all it is.
The other thing I liked about 12th Man was they did the edited ones, which is great because we could play them at school.
Ah.
I mean, they were really badly edited, but they were edited.
They were there, yeah. The Naked Vika show, that's going back a long way.
Yeah, that's
where Ross got it started before Bullpit.
Oh, really?
Country. Yeah, he was on the Naked Vicar show. Started off kind of a sketch thing there and became a TV show.
Oh, okay.
Ross Higgins.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
him and was it Nolene Brown and somebody else? They used to do 3 or 4 of them did the Naked Vicar show, all written by one guy. We used to play the Naked Vicar show on our radio station too. Yeah, that was great.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Then of course you have Adam Hills. That's what I was trying to think of before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other one I was trying to think of was Carl Barron.
Oh, yeah.
He's sort of the last sort of standout for typical Australian stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Like, he's sort of the last one. He still does the occasional gig. It's like Dave Hughes, but I can't stand him.
I don't think anyone can these days.
I don't understand what that was. Yeah, Will Anderson and Adam Hills.
Yeah, those two.
They're the two I get mixed up all the time. I still can't tell you which one's got the wooden leg.
Adam Hills.
So is it Will Anderson who's the one who's got the wife who's an opera singer or something?
Probably, yeah. He does Gruen Report.
Yeah. That's
an interesting one. If you want to know all the things about advertising and how they get into your head and why they did an ad a particular way, those guys, I always liked that show.
Yeah.
And they just started again last week.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
I haven't...
Catch it on iView.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched that for a while, actually.
Yeah, me either. I keep forgetting it's on.
Um,
And I got Netflix. I dropped my Disney Plus and went to Amazon Prime because that's got a lot more features too. You can subscribe to somebody's Twitch channel and give them money by already having paid for Amazon
yeah,
Prime.
you get free subscriptions. Yeah.
Yeah, free subscription to any one channel each month to give them some money for support. You get your fast delivery or your free delivery. You get discounts on certain things.
Mm.
You get access to movies on Amazon Prime movies. You get
And I
so
mean,
many
if you're
things.
using Amazon web
Ecosystem.
shopping anyway, like it
Yeah.
ties in with that really well.
Well, I was, yeah. So now it's Kogan and Amazon for everything for me if I can get them because I ordered something. I ordered my daughter the Oculus Quest 2 and for VR headset, and they sent me an email today from Amazon saying, since you bought this really expensive things, you got 90 days of free Amazon Music subscription.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we got a thing from Foxtel, of all people. And we're thinking, oh, here we go. They're going to put their prices up or something.
Yep.
They're like, oh, as a loyal customer and you've been on the base pack for the last 7 years or something, we have base pack plus streaming, so we can watch on the computer.
Yep.
We're going to gift you with, this and there. We've got like Sports Plus and we've got like, I don't know, drama. And like there's like 10 or 15 other channels they've just added to our pack now.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, and everything's in HD. There's no more SD.
Oh,
They're not
nice.
splitting SD and
Because
HD
when
anymore.
when they first came out, they compressed the hell out of everything. It was terrible.
Even the HD was horrible.
Yeah.
But I've noticed over the last couple of years, their SD's got really good, and you don't really notice the difference between that and the HD anymore.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
guessing they've just slowly upgraded everything to the point where they're like, well, there's no point carrying two services now.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Since we're on the streaming thing, we should probably mention Australia's got a new news-only streaming service that you can sign up to called Flash. So if you really, really like all the different news, your Sky News and all the channels, you can just pay for a whole streaming service of all the news channels in Australia.
or you can not. I mean, I'm going to
There's
go
no way they could get me to do that.
I'm going to go with not. But
No.
speaking of Kogan, something I had used years and years ago and completely forgotten that it was even a thing. USB monitors. So they're purely USB. They get their video signal over USB and they're powered over USB. They're designed for basically to give laptops a second monitor and things like that,
Nice.
and being fully portable. We're using them at work because we're using like Lenovo's and stuff that only let you have two monitors. So these AOC 15.6 inch, 185 on Kogan, but I've seen them as high as $399 for exactly the same monitor.
Wow.
Um,
AOC is pretty good. I got one AOC monitor over here.
AOC is pretty decent, but I did a bit of research into these, and the funny thing about these monitors is they actually started making them in like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
And they haven't changed them, and they're really still the only one that's available. Like there are a couple of, like Kogan's doing one, but it's like $400 because it's a touchscreen as well.
Yep.
But just as a basic secondary monitor that you want to carry with you, to have an extra monitor that's fully portable, doesn't need external power,
AOC International, formerly Admiral Overseas Corporation from Illinois, but now it's all Taiwan.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got my main TV's an AOC. They're good. Like I'd never had the only thing I will say is because it is 2015 technology and they haven't really touched it, it is slightly washed out compared to a new monitor.
Yep.
But if you've got an older monitor, like if I compare it, most of my monitors I've got here are like older Samsung, what are they, like 24, I don't know, somethings, and they're an older monitor. So comparing it to these, there's actually not that much difference. It's only once you compare it to a newer, OLED or something like that, you can sort of tell a bit different. But
It says here 2016 they launched the AOC Aegon Premium line with gaming monitors.
Yeah. I've actually got one. My primary monitor at work is actually an AOC gaming monitor. and I only use it because when I'm doing photo editing and stuff, the color reproduction is amazingly accurate on it.
Oh, you need that.
Yeah, that's the main reason I use it. But apparently it's got I don't. My work computer doesn't game very well, but apparently it's got fantastic response time and.
It's from 1967. They first manufacturer of color televisions for export.
Yep. Dad has still to this day.
I never heard of him till I got this monitor.
Oh, really?
Yep, never heard of him at all. In fact, that was my daughter's mother's spare monitor. She bought some big 32s and stuff, had a couple of those, and she was like, I don't need this monitor. Do you want a monitor? And I was like, I don't know what I'll use it for, but I ended up I've got 3 now, and like you've got your 4 monitors.
Yeah.
I was like, I need another one. So I've got that one is landscaped and a portrait one here that I put Discord and things on, and then the 4K that I play other games on.
My dad actually has still to this day in his bedroom that AOC monitor, that AOC 19-inch CRT.
My dad had a Rinkarina.
It's actually that one. It's got the base. Like that's literally how it sits like that. Like it's.
They don't make them to last long like they used to.
They don't. I mean, it's got to be early to mid 70s.
Yep.
Like it's insane. And the thing, okay, when it's really, if you had 2 or 3 days of really rainy weather,
yep,
because there's so much dust inside the back of it, it's like this thick with dust.
Yeah.
You turn it on and you can actually see these arcs going across the back of the inside the case from the high voltage, and you go just turn that off and let all the humidity dry out of it for a while. If you leave it on, so it stays on 24/7.
Yep.
Because it's that old that all the capacitors are shot and the board's shorts. And if you turn it off and let it cool down, turn it back on, you don't have sound for the first 3 hours after it comes back on. But if you leave it on, it works absolutely flawlessly.
Yeah, got to warm up them tubes.
Well, it's not
Vacuum
quite old
tubes.
enough to have tubes, but it's old enough to have old paper capacitors that are well and truly shot by now.
Yeah.
But the
But it works.
Dad loves watching, and I think this is true of people who enjoy. Okay, so you've got an LCD monitor or an OLED monitor or a plasma. All those styles of monitors have fantastic reproduction. But there's something about the way a CRT displays an image that it's like listening to a record.
Yep.
You don't necessarily know why it's better than listening to a CD.
Yeah.
And technically it shouldn't be because it doesn't have the vibrance, it doesn't have the quality, but because it doesn't have that, it seems better.
Yeah.
And Dad will sit. He's got a 45-inch or something LCD in the lounge room, but he'll go into the bedroom and watch TV before he sits down and watches the LCD.
Yeah.
It's
My
so
dad's
funny
got my old LCD 26-inch in the lounge room, and he hops into bed, especially in winter. He's like, I'm not going to heat up the house. I'm just going to hop in bed, turn the electric blanket on one, and watch the CRT over there.
And it's really funny when every 10 years after they force him to upgrade his Foxtel box because they no longer support that model, the technician comes out and he goes to the lounge room. Oh, where's your? Oh, no, it's in the bedroom on that TV in there. Oh, okay.
What?
I don't know how to make this box work on that TV. So he's got decoder, there's this chain of boxes to make the new ones work because they dropped on the new boxes, they don't have AV, they don't have SCART, they don't have composite, they just have HDMI now.
That's it, yep.
And so there's a HDMI conversion. You can't convert, because it's true digital signal, you can't convert HDMI directly to something that recognizes, and it only has coaxial or SCART input. So you've got to go HDMI to a VGA adapter, VGA to a SCART adapter, then SCART into the back of the TV. And the Foxtel tech just sits there and goes, well, I don't even know these words that you're talking.
Wait till I tell the guys back at the shop.
What do you mean you don't have a remote control? How do you adjust it?
I get up and I walk over there.
Grandma had an old TV. It was in the big rosewood, beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Had the TV in the middle, It had the record player with the radio on the other side, had the record storage on the other side, and the top flipped up, and there was a bar in there, and like it was amazing.
Nice.
All valves and tubes as you'd expect. Unfortunately, when my grandma died, everyone voted to get rid of it despite my protests. But anyway, it had a remote control, but it used inside the remote control.
The clicker one?
It looked like a comb, and it had a finger that flicked the different prongs of this cone, and each different prong made a different sound, and each different thing on the TV responded to a different sound differently.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember sometimes Dad would come home or Granddad would come home and they'd chuck his keys on the counter.
Yeah.
And the TV would turn off or change channels.
Just hit the right frequency.
Oh, dear. That were cool.
Crazy stuff.
I'm so annoyed they got rid of that. Like, it was such a beautiful cabinet.
Yeah.
It was that old. It was still black and white.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even colour. It was amazing. But no. It'd be worth a lot of money now.
Well, that's because the world was black and white back in those days.
Yeah, well, that's it. It wasn't until, was it? Oh, when was it? When was it? I can't think of his name now. Who was the guy with the gloves? Auntie Jack. Yep. I still remember. I've never saw it the first time round, but I've watched the repeats of it where Auntie Jack was fighting back the colour as the colour was seeping in on the show. I still remember that.
Watch this show will rip your bloody arms off.
That was funny, but yeah.
You should probably thank our watchers and supporters.
The what? Yes, we should. Patreon.com/AussieTechHeads, ko-fi.com/AussieTechHeads. You can get us in all the Faceplace and book spaces, and who knows what Facebook's going to be called now, but that's a different story.
That's my first story.
You can find us in all the usual places. And we do thank the Patreons and the Ko-fis and the PayPals and the direct deposits and the who was it? Somebody sent us scratchies. That was funny. They were completely useless, but they sent us. The rules are, if you're going to send us scratchies, they have to be ones that are going to win something.
Suddenly, I don't think you can tell before you buy them.
What's the point? I mean, why would you buy something if you don't know what the outcome's going to be?
Right.
But no, it does help us out, guys. We're not monetized. We're not sponsored. We're not. I mean, we do this just because we do it. We're suckers for punishment or something.
Buy Will a Powerball ticket for next week.
Well, I tell you what, I would have been happy with our secret sound on the radio today.
What was that?
It's $10,000.
Oh,
it hasn't gone
you know
off.
what it is?
Hasn't gone. Well, yeah. I know what it's not. By process of elimination, there can't be too many things left. It's been going for like 4 months or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I couldn't believe it. And they're even extending, like, they used to take like 3 callers.
Yep.
And they're like, nah, that's not it. And they'd do it like 3 times a day. They're taking like 10 callers like 5 times a day now.
Still can't get it done.
They still don't. It doesn't. It sounds as like, someone shutting an egg carton or something, but it, who knows what it is.
Maybe that's it. You should ring up.
Nah, I've checked. It's been done. The list on their website is huge. They always put what the guesses were. Normally it's like 2 pages. It's like 40 pages or something. For the sounds.
Wow.
But no, it does make a big difference, guys. It helps us out. It helps us with hosting and paying for Zoom and things like that. So we do thank you muchly for that, and your continued support means a big difference. And I'd really obviously we've got far more people listening to this on audio than on video. But if a few of you guys could go over to YouTube and like and thumbs up and even leave a comment there for us, and even if you don't subscribe, I'd like you to, but even if you don't, it just helps with the algorithm, helps us get found. We get very little views on the channel, and it'd be really good to get that bumped up a bit if we could, because it's kind of, if you don't get that sort of feedback from your audience, YouTube just don't bother promoting you at all, and you never get found.
Yeah.
So...
Hence why people pay a lot of money for bots to...
Yeah, exactly. That's literally like they're supposedly part of a media group or whatever, but that's just slang for like I paid a heap of money to have bots click on my name.
Yep.
So yeah.
Time to do some news.
Want to do some news? All right, we can do that.
As mentioned before, Facebook is planning to change its company name next week to reflect its focus on building the metaverse, according to a source. Facebook Connect is going to be on, by the way, next Friday, our time, Thursday, US time. Coming name change, which CEO Mark Zuckerberg plans to talk about at the company's annual Connect conference on October 28th, but could unveil sooner. It's meant to signal the tech giant's ambition to be known for more than just social media and all the ills that it entails. The rebrand would likely position the Blue Facebook app as one of many products under a parent company overseeing groups like Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, and more. Spokesman for Facebook declined to comment about it. Facebook has more than 10,000 employees building consumer hardware like AR glasses that Zuckerberg believes will be as ubiquitous as smartphones. In July, he said that over the next several years, we will effectively transition from people seeing us as primarily being a social media company to being a metaverse company. A rebrand could also serve to further separate the futuristic work Zuckerberg is focused on from the intense scrutiny Facebook is currently under for the way its social platform operates today. A former employee turned whistleblower, Francis Haugen, recently leaked a trove of damning internal documents to the Wall Street Journal and testified about them before Congress. Antitrust regulators in the US and elsewhere trying to break the company up, and the public trust in how Facebook does its business is falling. New Facebook company name is a closely guarded secret within its walls and not known widely, even among its full senior leadership. The possible name could have something to do with Horizon, the name of the still unreleased VR version of Facebook meets Roblox that the company has been developing for the past few years. The name of that app was recently tweaked to Horizon Worlds shortly after Facebook demoed a version for workplace collaboration called Horizon Workrooms. Facebook has been steadily laying the groundwork for greater focus on the next generation of technology. The past summer, it set up a dedicated metaverse team. More recently, announced the head of AR and VR, Andrew Bosworth, would be promoted to chief technology officer. And, and just a couple of days ago, Facebook announced plans to hire 10,000 more employees to work on the metaverse in Europe. The term metaverse was coined originally by sci fi novelist Neil Stephenson to describe a virtual world people escape to from a dystopian real world.
Yep, certainly has.
Isn't Facebook the dystopian world, though, in this case?
Yeah, well. But what's funny is, so how many new internets are we going to have? Because the metaverse is, as we just like, it's. So Neil Stephenson started, but over the last few years, it's been gaining momentum as a rebirth of the internet to the point where Berners-Lee says that he's developing the new solid pods, as we've discussed on the show before, which is basically the reinvention of the internet.
Yep.
But here's the kicker. Berners-Lee says that Facebook's continuous failure to protect its users is something that drives him. We have to do it now. It's a historical moment. He hates Facebook.
Yep.
He hates Twitter. He hates Instagram. Yet he's controlling the next instigation of the internet where Zuckerberg wants to be. So, yeah, good luck. You have to be part of the pod. You have to adhere. You have to adhere to guidelines and rules and regulations.
Facebook don't do that.
Which Facebook doesn't do. So I don't really understand,
A lot of people are very annoyed at just how much power and control Zuckerberg has over Facebook even.
I mean, okay, so as I've always said, look, at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day, it's somebody's program that you're using for free.
Yep.
So therefore, you don't really get a say in what happens, and that's true no matter what the program is.
Yep.
But the thing is, they've got to figure out what they are. Are they a curator? Are they a publisher? Are they an editor? Are they a news sort? Like, it's all fine and dandy to say, oh, we're just a curator or a gatherer of information, which is okay, fine. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem with that. But you then can't go through and say, no, we don't approve of this post, because that makes you an editor. And if you're an editor, you're liable for the information that you publish. So you have to pick a side. You can't be both. You can't be both a curator and a moderator.
Yeah.
You're one or the other. So this whole, and that's where I take issue with them. It's like, okay, if you want to collect and gather and store and archive data, fine, do that. But do all of that. Don't just pick and choose what you want to do, because then you're not a curator, you're a moderator, and moderators have to adhere to a different set of guidelines than curators.
Yeah.
And if, like, I don't know.
Facebook lives in its own world that it's in control of and just does whatever it wants.
Yeah, but I think that's slowly falling apart, because you've got things like, Telescope, and you've got things like
Mines?
wow, having complete blank. Yeah, that's it. Mines. Things like that, where they're specifically the exact opposite of that for a reason.
Decentralized.
They're decentralized. They're curated only insofar as, they're moderated only insofar as to not breach international law.
Yeah.
Because they're an international company, they don't have a point of reference.
Yep.
But there are obviously laws that certain countries have, and then there's international law which all participants abide by. Certain things as an example, in war, when there's a Red Cross, it's just a given that you don't attack hospitals and medical facilities and things like that. And it's a given that you don't abuse that symbol to perpetrate, to commit a crime or whatever. So it's like, it's a guideline that everybody just agrees to adhere to.
Mm.
So there are certain things like child pornography and a few other bits and pieces that internationally is frowned upon, therefore they will be moderated. Mm. But anything that doesn't fit that guideline is perfectly open slather. And I think people now, with both Twitter and even YouTube getting on the bandwagon to some degree now, and Facebook, I think people are getting sick and tired of being told what they can watch. Yeah. Like, if you don't want to watch... if there's information there that I don't want to watch, well, fine, I don't watch it. But if the information's not there, and you tell me I can't watch it, that's a whole different thing again, Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out with the new internet, as they're calling it. There's been a few people, or a few big companies, I suppose, looking at migrating across, but I don't know if Facebook will be one of the ones that'll be allowed to do it, at least not in their current form. So, because I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
Yep.
Shall be interesting. So yeah. Let's see. What do I want to go for? So we've talked about. All right. Well, let's talk about people with plenty of money and not necessarily a huge amount of responsibility. Elon Musk. Give this guy credit where credit's due. Like, he's done amazing things with different things. Now, as most of you would know, he has a tunneling company called the Boring Company, because Elon's funny like that. The Elon Musk, the Boring Company's flamethrower, which is great.
Not a flamethrower.
Hey, I like
it was called Not a Flamethrower.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is just hilarious. But they've just wanted. This is interesting. I want to follow this story just purely for the logistics of it. They've just won an appeal from local officials to move forward with building a network of vehicle tunnels underneath Las Vegas. The Boring Company already operates a small version of its Teslas in tunnels under the Vegas Convention Center, which opened earlier this year and involves 2.8-mile tunnels. But Musk's startup proposed a massive citywide expansion in December 2020 and largely lines up with what Clark County's officials approved Wednesday. The system was approved involves 29 miles of tunnels under 51 stations. Clark County says as many as 57,000 passengers will be able to travel per hour, and no taxpayer money will be spent to build it, because Elon's smart like that. He knows better. Yep. The Boring Company previously said it would foot the bill for building it. that plans to ask hotel, casinos, or other businesses that want stations to pay for the construction costs. Each one of those stops has to go through its own permitting process. So basically he's going, hey, look, I'll dig the tunnels. That's fine. You want a station under your hotel? You just pay us some money to build the station. We'll build it for you.
Yep.
Such a smart move.
But
the reason I want to watch it, and the reason I'm really interested in this, is how do you bore a tunnel through sand without everything on top of it just collapsing into a big ravine?
It's like Minecraft.
Yeah, it really is. Like digging in sand is like digging in water. You create a vortex and it comes in on top of it to fill it in. Vegas is literally built on top of sand. I mean, I know they dig down to foundations for the buildings and stuff, but it's basically sand and sandstone, and then there's rock down there somewhere eventually, but it's so far down. So I'm curious to see how this... And one thing I love about the Boring Company is when they do tunnels, they live stream it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was watching
that one then.
I was watching them do one under, I think it was under New York or San Francisco, one of the two. And yeah, they're live streaming these big boring machines. I mean, it's not super interesting because you just see the big, thing. But what you get to see is as the borer goes through, then the sleeves come over the top and lock into place, and then the straps come up over that, and then they spray it all with like a slurry of concrete. But there's a gap between where the boring head goes. There's like a 20-foot gap to where these sleeves start coming over.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of curious what's going to happen in that 20-foot gap between the boring head and these sleeves. But
sounds interesting. He must have worked something out.
Oh, I'm sure they've got it figured. That's why I want to watch it.
I want
to know how they're going to do it. So,
one of the appeals of Twitch is watching things unfold live. It'd be handy if you could scrub back to see something again or a moment you might have missed. Soon, though, Twitch may have a solution to that problem, as it's currently testing a new rewind the stream button with some users. When you hit the button, you'll be rewinded back 2 minutes back in the stream. Twitch says from there you can scrub through what's been streamed so far and even watch what you missed at different speeds like you would with any other Twitch video on demand. If you hit the rewind button, you'll still be able to see what's happening in the live stream thanks to a picture-in-picture window that will appear above the chat. However, if a streamer doesn't have VODs enabled, you won't be able to use the rewind button. The rewind button test will be expanded to about a quarter of viewers in the coming days, they said. Twitch is also testing 2 other buttons. The Remind Me button will let you get a reminder for an upcoming scheduled stream, and the Watch Trailer button will let you watch a channel trailer for a streamer if they have one. Twitch will be testing these buttons over the next month, and once the test is over, the buttons will be removed.
It's not surprising. I mean, YouTube's been doing that for a while now. Where you've been able to scrub back on a live stream back to the start.
Yeah.
Not always the case. Like, it's only recently, I say relatively, I think it's only been 6 months or so you've been able to do that. But I'm honestly surprised Twitch has never had that functionality. Especially given, I mean, I guess when it was only games, there's probably not a lot of point because in reality, if someone's been streaming for an hour, you haven't missed that much in gameplay.
Yep.
But once they broadened their horizons to, like, we can stream on Twitch. We used to until nobody watched us. But like stuff like this, that's a classic example. A podcast. You come in halfway through the podcast, and suddenly we're here talking about something that's happened on Twitch, and you're like, well, hang on, what happened on Twitch? It'll be good. Although it's only 2 minutes, so I'm not sure if that's. Is it only 2 minutes or 2 minute increments?
I think it was just 2 minutes.
Because okay, that's not super useful.
I think if you're watching currently streaming it and you had to pop out for a minute to the loo or something, you come back, you're like, oh, what happened in the last couple of minutes?
Well,
you go back, or if the phone rings or someone talks to you, you don't miss everything.
Yeah, but you can do that anyway though. If you pause it.
Hang on, it says you'll be rewound back 2 minutes in the stream. From there, you can scrub through what's been streamed so far, and even watch what you missed at different speeds. So you'll be able to go right back to the start by the sounds of that.
Doesn't it? Otherwise, it just sounds like the Omega 13 out of Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Like 15 seconds and back. It's like, what's the point? But that's better if you can do that because that makes more sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, okay, not so much, as I said, not so much for gaming, but there is a lot more stuff. There's a lot of motorsports and a lot of sports in general being streamed on there now. There's just a lot of general stuff being streamed on Twitch now. It's actually not a bad place to hang out anymore.
Yep.
I got a couple of years ago, I got burnt out from Twitch, and I just didn't want to know about it because it was literally just C and D grade streamers streaming constantly, and but no, it's especially now they do something like collaboration channels where you can have 4 or 6 or 8 different people streaming, and you go to one web page and it combines them all, and you can see all the different ones that's happening, and that's all cool. That's pretty cool because you get to see it from different point of views and stuff like that. That's where I actually discovered Viva La Dirt League, Viva La Dirt League. The guys on YouTube I watch occasionally. They're hilarious. They do NPC Man, and they do awkward work situations, and yeah. But they started off as, well, I know them as Twitch streamers originally. They've got to the point where they do D&D role plays, and they do all sorts of stuff. Like, they're a really talented bunch of guys. And they actually have done a movie. If you haven't seen it, it's called Balin's Route. You can search for Viva La Dirt League and bring up Balin's Route on YouTube. It's free now. I was a patron of that. I actually paid.
City get destroyed.
I actually paid $30 or $40, I think, as a patron to make this happen.
Yep.
But they've made this full-on, like, 40-minute movie in-house. And it's got it's the journey of an NPC who's becoming sentient. He's realising there's more to the world than just his little fishing hole, which is where he's heading now, to his fishing hole. Yeah. But you see all these, gamer tags over the top of other players, and all these quest things pop up, and there's really, really nifty special effects and fight scenes and all sorts of stuff. And they do this on such a small budget. It's absolutely amazing. It's really cool to watch, actually.
Well done.
So if you do, if you get bored or something, I do recommend that. But yeah, they that's the same thing. That was where I discovered about the multi display stream thing and all that. So
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, so we'll see. But as I said, they're only testing it, so we'll wait and see if they actually decide to make it a thing, because you know what they're like. Hey,
they stole the idea from Harry Potter with those binoculars you could rewind in live.
Hey,
they had they had a big wizarding sports thing on, and you could get these binoculars, and if you looked through them, you could pause and rewind to see what had happened. And then somebody made them and was going to be selling them in real life as well.
Oh, really?
Based on that idea, yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. It wouldn't be that hard to do, honestly. You just have well, you can already buy binoculars where they've got a camera mounted in them. Yep. So you would only be a matter of replacing the eyepiece with an LCD screen, I guess.
Yeah.
That actually sounds pretty cool. So obviously some issues that are arising from this whole thing is the Raspberry Pi is having its first price increase ever.
Oh.
So the Raspberry Pi 4 with 2GB RAM and Pi Zero are in short supply today, but the older Pi boards built with the 40nm silicon will be hard to find from this point on, because they're obviously the next thing in line and they're being used up. The British maker of the Raspberry Pi computers raised the price of its 2GB RAM Raspberry Pi 4 by $10 due to the global semiconductor shortage. The price hike, though temporary, is yet another example of how much the chip supply chain has changed since the pandemic. Raspberry Pi dropped the price of the 2GB Pi 4 by $10 in February to $35, but as today it's back up to $45. And they're saying that, well, I talking about last week, automakers can't get cars out of their lots because they can't get key chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're scavenging from the luxury cars, all the electronics, and putting it in there. And in the US, it's more expensive to buy a used car now than a new one.
Yeah. Well, it's happening here too.
Yep.
The gaming fans found it difficult to buy Sony PlayStation 5 and Microsoft Xbox Series X consoles. But yeah, so it's the supply shortage has also restricted production at Raspberry Pi. Upton says it will only make, or it's only got enough to make 7 million units in 2021, which is the number they sold in 2020. So basically, even if they have better sales next year, they can't make any more.
Yeah.
So they've been making. Traditionally, they've been making the Raspberry Pi at Sony's factory in the UK, which assembles the Pi since 2012 when they first started making them. They've also, the engineers that have been building the Raspberry Pi 400s, which is the one with the keyboard and stuff like that.
Yep.
They've had to redesign them several times to try and incorporate chips that are available.
Wow.
But they're running out of redesigns. Like, it's getting to the point where they physically can't find chips that can do what they're supposed to do. Especially the older chips for the naughty, the naughty nanometer. Hey, naughty nanometer.
Naughty little nanometer.
The 40 nanometer silicons, like the Compute Model 3, Raspberry Pi 3B, 3B Plus, basically anything that isn't a Pi 4.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Wow.
They use 28 nanometer, but the older stuff that uses the 40 nanometer is really hard to get, to the point where it's almost non-existent in some cases. Due to the 2 gig Pi 4 price rise, they're bringing back the 1 gig for $35.
Right.
It cancelled the 1 gig variant when they brought the price of the 2 gig down, but now that they're doing that, they're bringing the 1 gig up. A lot of people are quite happy to use the 1 gig for what they do. They don't need the 2 gig. They only kept it because it didn't make sense to have two product lines.
Yep.
But now that they're doing that, so a vast majority of users who want them aren't going to be affected, especially if you're using it for IoT and stuff like that. They're not going to be affected by it anyway.
Yep. Get your Google Nest doorbell and your Ring doorbell now.
Pretty much, yeah. Or anything like I've ordered a couple more. I'm using having complete blank, not Renology. That's the battery. Reolink security cameras at work, and the particular ones I wanted have been out of stock for ages.
Yeah.
And they had like 4 refurbs in stock, so I grabbed them straight away because same reason they just can't make them at the moment.
Yeah, there's going to be a big supply chain problem in the next couple of months too, with food and petrol's already gone up.
I don't know why petrol's gone up. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Food. I don't know how deep you want me to get into it.
No.
Food is going to be an issue because basically what's happened, it's really complicated, but basically what's happened is any farmer who doesn't own their farm outright, the banks have sold the existing mortgages to a collection company and forcing foreclosure on the farms because they're not a bank. They don't deal in debt. You either pay the debt or you don't have a farm. Through government mandate, they've been told to do that. So there's been lots and lots of farms. It's been happening, like this pandemic's been covering it, but it's been happening for the last 2 years. It's finally starting to come to light a bit since this other stuff settled down. But they're literally walking onto properties, throwing the farmers off them and going, this is ours now, get out. And there's been something like 2,000 farms in the last 2 years have just been reclaimed.
And they've been going back generations too.
Yeah, and it's unlawful. Like, they have no founding, and what they rely on is not being fought. All the cases, the handful of cases that have been taken to court and fought have been won by the farmer because the banks and the collection agencies have no leg to stand on.
Yep.
But generally, they don't have the money to do that, which is what they rely on. And so, yeah. So there's a Rod Cullen, if you want to find out more, Rod Cullen on his Facebook page has a couple of, the last 3 or 4 days, he's got a lot of information up there about it and what's happening and why it's happening and how to stop it and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, so yes, there's definitely going to be a food shortage, and it's designed that way by the government to, once again, keep reliance on the government. But not that anyone really believes me. What would I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
Sound like Microsoft has released the first preview version of its Android app support in Windows 11. It's available to testers in the beta channel version of Windows 11, which means you'll need to opt into the Windows Insider program to get access. Installing the preview version on two systems, a gaming rig with a Core i9-11900K and Microsoft's Pro X, to get a feeling of how well it runs on Windows 11. The experience of installing apps is very simple. Microsoft has partnered with Amazon, so the Microsoft Store will list apps, but send you over to Amazon's App Store app to get them installed or updated. This also installs a Windows subsystem for Android in the background, which is the core technology that powers Android apps running on Windows 11. Apps effectively run in a virtual machine contained within their own world, but are able to sit side by side with other Windows apps. You can pin Android apps to the Start menu or taskbar and use all of the windowing and multitasking features of Windows 11 just like a regular desktop app. While there are only 50 apps officially available in this preview, it's possible to install Amazon's Kindle app, the BB Sounds app, and a bunch of games just to test how well Windows 11 handles mobile games. Apps show up in search results as if they were regular Windows ones, and the integration into the Start menu and taskbar makes them feel just like any other app. It's surprisingly seamless and a well-integrated solution. Microsoft's Android app support relies on the Amazon App Store for now, which is only a fraction of the apps available on Google's Play Store. It's inevitable that someone will sideload this onto Windows 11 and unlock many more apps with it, but Microsoft won't be officially supporting that.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't already been done, actually.
So now you
Probably
can
has.
run Android apps on there, you can run Linux on there,
Yep. And it's amazing what
and
happens.
Mac OS X.
It's amazing what happens when you run a native Linux kernel. That's good. I mean, it kind of makes sense because so many people are running Android emulators on Windows anyway to run Android stuff. Because take your Instagram and your TikToks, for example, you can only do them from a phone. So if you've got a marketing business or you've got somebody like we do who puts up publishers regularly, you're not going to do it on the phone.
No.
It's too hard.
Yep.
So you run an emulator on your PC and you do it that way. Or people who do playthroughs on games and stuff like that. Even at work, I do it for the point of sale software that we run only runs on Android.
All right.
Oh, sorry, the FPOS part of it only runs on Android. So I have a Windows system running an Android emulator to run the point of sale on a PC rather than on a tablet.
Yeah.
You know, so it'd be definitely great to have the option. But in typical Microsoft style, if they don't allow the full... But, as I said, they'll be side-loaded. I don't think it'll take long.
No.
Especially, you know... and it'd be relatively easy, most likely, to sideload Android apps onto Windows. So, but if not, I mean, the emulator's still there anyway. So it's not like that's going to change. So, no, that'll be cool. It's funny. The more I hear about 11, the more on the one hand, the more I want it. On the other hand, the more I don't. Because it's going to break so many ways I do things.
Yeah. I love it. I've been running it for a couple of weeks and I've had no issues. Everything works seamlessly and I think it's the best OS I've ever used.
I can't technically do it because I got that chip problem. I can do it with the bypass hack, but
yep.
But I'm just waiting to see if they fix that. I want to see if that's a big enough issue that they fix it. I'm curious.
Yeah, they'll have to because so many people got Ryzen.
That's what I mean. Like it's it's not like AMD's a 10% market share anymore.
No.
So
not for a long time.
I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do. So I'm kind of just hanging out for a while just to see, to see if they fix it. If not, I don't know. But they're going to have to because if they're going to say they're going to drop support of 10 in 3 or 5 years,
2025,
whatever they say, well, they're going to have an alternative, aren't they?
Yep.
Or am I just going to go
work
Linux?
by then.
Mind you, by then the way they'll be bringing operating systems, there'll be another one out by then anyway. So.
Yeah. Well. They said Windows 10 was going to be the last one ever.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But didn't they also say that about 64K of RAM? Like it was. Mm. Oh, nobody needs a mouse, I think was a famous quote at one point.
Yep.
Okay, that was Apple, but still. At least Microsoft hasn't bought out a $20 screen cleaner that only works with Apple devices.
What?
I haven't got the story in front of me, but yeah, it wasn't something. It was like embroidered in white, but they won't tell you what material is, and the compatibility list only mentions Apple products.
Yep. Don't use this cloth on anything else, and they're sold
And they're
out.
sold
So
out.
people bought the damn things. I don't know if it's scalpers, and you're going to find them on eBay for $100 each, which is probably going to happen.
That's just ridiculous. Everything about that's ridiculous. Everything about that screams Apple for some reason. I don't know why.
You thought the $1,000 monitor stand was expensive, or the
Yeah.
wheels that were like $400 or whatever.
the what was it, the $200 pen for your iPad or whatever it was, and then the
Steve Jobs famously said they'll never use a pen because it's a terrible way to do stuff on mobile tablets.
he carks it and the pen comes out.
Yeah.
You know that means
Take a minute.
you know that means that some manager somewhere's had it tucked away in a portfolio for the last 5 years, just waiting, buying his time. Like,
Is he gone? Is he gone? Is he gone? Right, pen time. Let's do it.
it was
Works
literally-
all right for Samsung.
Yeah, well, that's right, exactly. Yeah, it's so funny, but yeah. So if you want to clean your AirPods or whatever the hell you've got, you can use a
Official Apple cloth.
Apple. It makes
None
them-
of these glasses cleaners. They are not compatible with
With
the
Apple
Apple
products.
screen.
not compatible with the Apple infrastructure.
I'll Google
You know what
it,
it
but
is?
I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that my glasses wipes are compatible with Windows products.
You know
or-
what it is. It won't be long. You watch. I'll put some NSC chip in there, then I'll know if you use the wrong wipe to wipe your screen with, and I'll void
Yeah.
your warranty.
It's like putting the off-brand inks into your printer. Sorry, that doesn't work.
Oh, did
Why
you see?
not?
The,
Oh,
did you see
Canon.
the latest? Yeah.
yeah. I'll
mean,
let you do that one.
I don't have the story. I only remember reading it.
No, me either.
It's not that. I've got an old Canon from 10 years ago that's done exactly the same thing, but they went away from that. And what they've decided to do again is bring it back. If you run out of ink, you can't scan because you need ink to scan.
What? Well, at least they're getting sued this time.
Yeah, well, they did it with whatever model that was. I can't see it, but I've got one there that does the same thing. And it's a LaserJet. If it runs out of a toner, it won't scan. But the dumb part is it doesn't know it's run out of toner when you print, because you can print with an empty toner cartridge and let you print,
Oh,
but you can't scan.
well, that makes sense.
But yeah, the latest one is you run it, and not only you run out of ink, you've only got to run out of one color of ink, and it won't scan.
Yep.
So it's not like you've even completely emptied your cartridges. You could have just run out of black or out of red, and you can't scan. And it's like, who decided? What fail-safe mode do they put in place that was an issue?
Yeah, I saw this guy this week. I think it might have been one of those ones, and he put in 3 new inks to see why the black he hadn't
Yeah.
replaced, but all the others, and turned it on, connected the software to it, and 10% of each one was already used up.
Yeah, with the purging process.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's well, if he's used the brand new ones, they're only like 25% tanks anyway. Like the tanks you get when you buy a printer are only good for 25%.
no, these were replacement ones.
Oh, okay.
The ones that run out. Yeah, just bought brand new ones and installed them.
Because yeah, a lot of people go, "Oh, my printer doesn't last very long here," but the ones it ships with don't.
They're not supposed to.
They're only test ones, more or less.
They're
But
like,
yeah.
well, I'll just buy a new printer because it's cheaper than buying the
Well,
colors every time.
I've got a HP DeskJet. What is it? 21 HP DeskJet 2130.
Yep.
And it's a scanner as well. And it cost me to buy, because it's a 3-in-1 color cartridge and then a black.
Yep.
So to buy both those 2 cartridges cost me $85. The printer cost me $45 from Officeworks.
Yeah.
And it's got 3/4 cartridges in it. So
Right.
I weighed them, and there's about 10 mil difference, and they're about 50 mil for a full one, and the other ones are about 40 mil roughly.
Right.
And yeah, so I can spend $85 and buy 2 new cartridges, or $45 and buy a whole new printer. So just to do the right thing,
Yep.
I bought replacement cartridges.
Yep.
I then got halfway through those cartridges and the heads failed.
Ah,
You can't buy replacement heads. They're
jeez.
built into the unit. So I actually wasted $40 because I couldn't use half of those ink tanks.
Anyway, that's ridiculous.
So I'm just I literally keep it there as a scanner because that's the only thing I use it for, because I've got
Still works.
the laser jet. But yeah, it's like, but even there's another example. I got a laser jet. Is that a HP as well? No, Lexmark laser printer there.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's $40 to buy the laser printer from Officeworks. It's $120 to buy a toner cartridge.
Mm.
And even an aftermarket one from like Inkscape or something, like, to not even the genuine one.
Yeah.
So why would I buy a toner? They do it deliberately, but it's just such a waste.
That's why they say the ink is more expensive per milliliter than Dom Perignon.
Just about, yeah. Well, we've got the new, I can't remember what they are. I'll have to check. I'll have to look when I go back to work. I want to say it's Lexmark, but I could be wrong. It's a new one that uses, it literally uses almost like a food dye. Like, the ink is so cheap, and it comes in these big, when you buy it, you get 500 mil ink.
Wow.
Comes with it that you tip into the storage tanks, and each storage tank holds the 500 mil. And they estimate the average small home office, gets 2 years worth of printing out of the ink it comes with.
Wow.
And then when you want to refill it, it's $15 per colour.
Yeah. That's all right.
For another 2 years worth of printing. So finally, somebody has got off their high horse and solved that problem.
Sounds good.
So that wasn't my last story, by it's just one of those tangents.
We'll
that
get
we do.
there.
Did you have any more?
No.
No? Okay. So, yeah, righto. Automated propagation sees Aussie broadband go down.
Whoa.
Where's
Just
my
like Facebook.
Yeah, funny that. It wasn't DNS, but it was DHCP and an overloaded authentication server that caused the outage. Around 10 a.m. Eastern Australian time on Thursday, Aussie broadband suffered an outage that hit various parts of the eastern seaboard. Users were unable to use their broadband. The company status page app was also knocked down. Even though a fix was put in place quickly, users were still complaining for some time as it took a while to restart modems, etc. The downside of the automation is it provides the ability to break things at scale. Aussie Broadband Managing Director Phil Brett said, that's something Phil would say. A change was made to our DHCP configuration this morning, which automatically propagated throughout the network and took services offline for around 10 minutes before a fix was rolled out. Following the fix, it took some customers time to get back online, and a large number of customers needed to re-authenticate, resulting in increased load or authentication servers, which then crashed and sort of snowballed and started the whole thing all
They're
happening
too
again.
popular. That's their problem. We're too popular.
On Wednesday, the company provided an update for the first quarter. Revenue was reported at $111 million, and total services increased 46% year on year to 577,000. Of that number, 396 are residential customers, an increase of 38%, or just shy of 40,000 businesses are now on Aussie Broadband, up to 85%. Part of that's because they've changed the business part of it used to be under a different company name. And they've ditched that now, and we're actually, because we were on this other company name, I can't think what they're called, but we've actually, technically, we're Aussie Broadband now at work. So some of that increase would be due to that as well. Aussie Broadband also said they only had 3,000 of its 30,000 customers left to switch from Telstra to the Optus network. The company also took the opportunity to have another swing at NBN over CVC access charges due to its increased downloads during Australia's COVID-related lockdowns. Usage increased 15% compared to pre-lockdown in May, and the company had 3.3 million in excess charges for the quarter, an increase of 137%. Following the other way, the telco received 800,000 from NBN in rebates. So it still cost them 2.5 mil, 2.5 mil extra just to give us internet.
Wow.
At the start of the month, NBN said it would calculate CVC free stock individually. From May, baseline For additional data above 25%, would credit retailers 50% of the $8 per megabit cover charge. Will also calculate credit and could extend into 2022. So they only get half their money back at best.
Aussie Broadband was the result of the amalgamation of Wideband Networks Proprietary Limited and Westvic Broadband Proprietary Limited.
So wideband was still the business side of it.
Right.
Up until I think it might have been the start of this year. We're still technically getting wideband billing.
Okay.
Because even though they were the same company, they kind of kept the departments separate. But yeah, they did finally roll them into each other.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting that that they've managed to absorb so much of that increase. I mean, could you imagine how much more productive they could be if they didn't have to?
Yeah.
Because that's a ridiculous amount of money for any company to absorb. But yeah, I came in this morning, and this was today, by the way. Was this today? Yeah, it was today. October 21st. It happened this morning. We come into work, and we had no internet on any of the computers, and restarted them, and it still wouldn't work, and restarted the router, and it wouldn't work. I had to restart the NTD box, and then restart the router, and then restart the switch, and then restart the computers. But yeah.
And then it's all good again, except for your tablet, which drops off randomly for no reason.
I don't still understand what's happening. I don't get it. I don't. If anybody knows why an Android tablet would just it doesn't disconnect from the network. It stays connected to the network. So if you go to the network properties and look, it says it's still connected, but it stops the traffic from the network. Like the signal bars go down to nothing. Like it can't see it, but it still stays connected. It still says, and it still says excellent for connection quality, which it wanted because it's sitting next to the router.
Yeah.
But if anybody knows why Android does that, let me know, because I can't figure it out. Although today it hasn't done it all day, so I don't know.
Touch wood.
I don't know. I don't understand computers.
Call tech support. Have you tried switching it off and on again?
They cost too much. I'm going to call them tech support.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and Coffee. Email us wheelorwarlock at aussietechheads.com.au and go to aussietechradio.com 24/7 playback of the best tech-related shows. See you next time.
Bye.
Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot.
The pancake robot is coming to town. He's mixing up the batter and he's laying it down. Buttermilk, blueberry, chocolate chip. 50 million pancakes he's gonna flip. All you can eat, yum yum. All you can eat, yum yum. The pancake robot is coming to town. All you can eat, yum yum. All you can eat, yum yum. It's a pancake explosion, come and party down.
Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot.
The pancake robot is coming to town. All you can eat, yum yum. All you can eat, yum yum. It's a pancake explosion, come and party down.
Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em while they're hot. Pancake robot, come and get 'em whi
The pancake robot is here at last. His flapjacks are flying supersonically fast. With his maple syrup cannon and his butter pat blaster, he's gonna feed the world 'cause he's the pancake master. Stackety, stackety, way up high, stacking those cakes into the sky. Flippity, flappity, down they go. Grab yourself a fork 'cause it's time to mow. Flat and round, grill cakes, hot and brown. Everybody, everybody chow down 'cause the pancake robot's in town. All you can eat,
Yum, yum.
all you can eat.
Yum, yum.
The pancake robot is coming to town. All you can eat,
Yum, yum,
all you can eat.
yum, yum.
It's a pancake explosion, come and party down. All you can eat, yum yum. All you can eat, yum yum. The pancake robot is coming to town. All you can eat, yum yum. All you can eat, yum yum. It's a pancake explosion, come and party down.
Pancake robot, come and get 'em all.